Now guys, see the barber back with another video. We're gonna be doing a fresh ass cut today. We're giving this guy a high taper. We're gonna make him look solid. So let's get this started. So we're gonna be starting this haircut, just cleaning up making the first guideline. So we're gonna start the first guideline and just make it nice and crisp, clean it up, clean up the edges, clean up every angle, every corner that we can, just to make sure the haircut looks nice, solid, and crispy. As you guys can see, we make the guideline from that corner there to the corner of that corner of the ear. That's not the top of the ear, but the corner of the ear right there that connects to the skin. And then we bald it out. As you can see, guys, we just clean it up as much as we can. Just bald it out and create that taper, the high taper look. As you can see, the guideline is pretty high. Now then we hit it with the no guard all the way open. Just create that first guideline. We flick. If we move to the right, we use the right corner. If we move to the left, we use the left corner of the machine, and we just flick up and create that first perfect, good looking guideline. As you can see, it maybe not too perfect, but you know, you do your best. So after you have that first guideline, you're gonna go back and you're gonna do a one all the way open, and you're gonna create that second guideline. As you can see, guys, it's like an inch up, just to create that transition, that fluidness, you know, like water. You know what I mean? Like it's just so crisp there. And then we're gonna go over, as you can see, you guys saw, with a two all the way open, and just go around the ear, and we go up on the areas where there's bulk, just to clean it up as much as we can. We gotta also just wipe it down, just make sure that there's nothing there that invades with our ability to see how far we've gotten into. You know, gotta know where we are, where we're going, type of thing. So as you can see, there's that guideline right there, and we're gonna get rid of that with no guard all the way closed, and we're gonna start hitting with the left corners and start moving to the right, moving to the left, just switching positions, you know, just making sure that we really get rid of that line. But we just hit it once, you know, we hit that line once all the way across, and then we're gonna go back from the left to the right, possibly as well, with it 25% of the way open. As you can see, I just opened it up a little bit. That's 25% of the way, and then we start hitting it again from left to right, right to left. Just depends on how you're feeling that day, what way you want to go. But make sure you switch the corners. If you're going right, you use the right corner. If you're going left, you use the left corner. It just depends how you're doing with those corners and with those angles and everything. You got to make sure you got to clean up as much as you can. You never want to touch that second line. As you can see, the second guideline with that same guard, you got to use the 116. So we go into the 162 and start knocking some of that line out. So we start hitting it, you know, and we might be needing to go back and do some detail work, but that's not important right now. What we got to do is we got to flick at it, you see, with the no guard. I mean, not no guard, but the 116 guard, just hitting it and hitting it 100%, you know, without opening the lever at all. But now after hitting it a little bit, we have to open the lever 25% of the way and just flick a little bit on it, a little more here and there, you know, just knock out as much bulk as we can and slowly go up, and never go too much up. You gotta trust the process, trust the blend. That's what you gotta do, guys, or else you don't really know what's going down. But you gotta make sure that you go back as well, just to get rid of any little dark spots, any little things you need to erase, anything you're trying to make a lot clearer, make a lot nicer. As you can see, there's still a little bit of more work to do, so you definitely have to go back and just keep hitting it, keep making that blend go, so from small to higher. And basically that's what the lever is for. You, if you go a little more up, you got to open the lever a little more. You know, there's just people that say, oh, you just mess with the lever, flick it up and down, but that's not really the truth, honestly, guys. That was a lie. Honestly, when I was watching YouTube videos, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna flick it up and down, but that's not true. What you got to do is you got to have a certain technique, you got to have a certain process. And as you can see, I go from, you know, lever all the way closed, hit it a little bit, hit my line a little bit, attack it. As you can see, I'm attacking it right now with the one guard all the way closed. And see, I opened it a little bit, and then we attack it a little more, and then we attack it just 25% of the way up, not too much, but 25% of the way up on that next half an inch that we have created, as you can see. So we hit it and we attack that line, and we slowly go up, and as we go up, we open the lever just to create that blend. Because if you don't do that and you're like, oh, you know, I can do this without the blend, without this technique, you know, you must be really talented, or it's just not gonna work, you know what I mean? So I see I'm going back again with the 116, and we're going back and just touching it up, you know, just crisping it up, making sure that everything is looking solid, is looking good. Because if you don't go back and, you know, do that detail work, you don't really get to see that nice transition at the end. You don't get to see that great result you're looking for. You want to make sure that your client gets the nicest haircut that has gotten in a while, or at least a good haircut, you know what I mean? So just keep hitting it. Honestly, now we're using the the 2 guard all the way open, just flicking out even more bulk, just making sure that we really are working with a clean canvas, and we really want to know that we really are working with a nice surface there. So we want to make sure that the transition is nice, so that's why we go back and get rid of that bulk, because that bulk can really cause like a effect that looks like it's not blended, it looks like a bowl cut, you know, and no one wants the bowl cut. I had the bowl cut when I was a little kid. I got made fun of quite a bit of times, and you don't want that to happen again to yourself. So you definitely don't want to do that to yourself or to your client. You know, this is a tutorial, so you don't want to be doing that to your client. You don't want to make him look like a clown. You want to make sure he looks good. He's got a good view of himself, and he sees himself. Actually, that's not as important. That might be a little bit out of topic, but you really want to make sure your client feels confident when he looks at himself in the mirror and, you know, says, I got a nice haircut, and he's able to see the back as well. You always, you know, when you're done doing a haircut, you always want to make sure your client gets to see, you know, how his haircut came out. You don't just say, hey, yeah, I give you a good haircut, and you let him leave. I've seen some barbershops where I'm originally from, and they do that. You know, they just tell you, hey, you got to trust your barber, I guess, and then they just let you leave. You know, I've been cutting some of these guys for a long time, and even though they already trust me, I always like to show them the mirror, because I really want to make sure that they know that I'm taking care of them, and I'm making sure that they get what they want. So you know what I mean, guys. You gotta really put some time in there, some effort, and show them that, you know, show them some love, you know, show them that you really care about their hair. So that's what we do. We gotta really just go back in there and keep editing it, keep working it, and, you know, keep, you know, brushing off the hair. You don't want to make your client feel all itchy while you're working on him. You really want to make sure you're just treating your client nicely. But let's go back. Let's go on the back now. Let's work at the back. When we're working at the back, we want to make sure that our line, you see what I put my fingers there, our line is basically below the earlobes. So we want to make sure that the first guideline, that one for the back line, as you can see, we already made that guideline in the back. We balled it out and everything, but you can see we definitely want to make sure that our client has a nice first guideline. Some people make it a little higher. Honestly, I always prefer it before the earlobes, because I kind of like it a little bit low, not too low where it's like, oh dang, it's so low, but it's honestly kind of the mid low, just in between, and it creates a nice look. So as you can see, we're going with the no guard all the way open, just flicking out, you know, making that first guideline, that 1/2 inch transition there. As you can see, we just go all around, make sure that it's even, make sure that the line looks nice, and then we go with the 1 all the way open. So we're going in there, we're hitting that, we're making it happen, guys. So we are hitting it again. Here you see that part right there, it's a little bulky. Sometimes you hit it and it just doesn't get it, so you gotta hit it a few times until you really get what you want. You see the results, and then you're happy with them. And then the next thing you do is you get the 2 guard open. You see that's the 2 guard I'm using. I go almost all the way to the top of the ear, not like imagining a line from one side of one ear to the other ear. Just that's how high I usually go with the 2 guard, because then we're gonna go and erase it with the clipper or comb, as you can see, but later you'll see. But honestly, it's nice to be able to just go that high, because it's always been such a great, you know, such a great result it's given me. So you definitely want to try something like that. It's not bad at all. Now when you want to go back and erase the line, you want to go back with no guard all the way closed, and you're going to start flicking it on it from the left corner, the right corner. You're going to play with it, you know what I mean? But definitely there is a little bit of a process. I always thought, you know, maybe it's you just hit it based on what you think, but no, it's all a process. It's all, you know, there's got some math into it, you know. Definitely has some technique to it, but there's a lot of basic math into it, you know, like 25% of the way, 50% of the way, 75% of the way. You gotta keep slowly moving up and up, and it just creates that blend. It's just basically science, maybe a parabola type of science. You know, you slowly start to loop. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but honestly, something like that, you know what I mean? There's a technique, and that's what I'm telling you guys. That's what I'm doing here. You see how I opened it, you know, 25% of the way, and then I go a little bit more open, then I go 50% of the way, and you see how the blends is already coming to a connection. You see how that's already looking fairly good right there. That first guideline has been knocked down, not the second one, but the first one. The second one, we're gonna attack it next with the no guard. Actually with the 1/16 guard, close and slowly opening it, you know, 25% of the way, 50% of the way, 75% of the way, just slowly flicking from the left, using the left corner, flicking, moving from the left to the right. And then when we go from the right to the left, actually from the right to the left we use the left corner, and then from the left to the right we use the right corner. Just just flicking and slowly opening it. That just creates a nice transition. You see how the transition's already looking pretty good, and that's because of that, because we're just going back and forth, just making it happen. You see how the clients are already looking pretty icy, pretty good, and we definitely are working doing our best to make sure that our client looks great. And as you can see, I'm taking the time to really make sure that every little detail that I can see, because I'm still not the best barber, but every little detail that I can see as a decent barber, I'm making sure every detail is covered. Every detail is made. Every little extra examination I can do, I do, and that's why I don't take that. That's why I take quite a bit of time to cut someone's hair. Not too long. I typically take like 40 minutes, sometimes 30. Just depends, but I always average to like 40 minutes because I really want to make sure each client just gets the time to get a nice haircut. And not only that, but also I like to build a friendship, with my clients, make sure that, not only am I cutting the hair, but, I'm building a friendship with his clients and having a good time, it's not like you just go in there and there's a robot who's cutting your hair and that's pretty much it. But honestly, you see guys what I'm using here? I'm using the one guard all the way, well, actually not all the way closed. It's actually possibly actually it's all the way open. So right now we're just kind of flicking all the way with it all the way open. But we did start off with it a little bit closed and slowly start opening it. That is part of the technique, guys. We always have to go from smallest to biggest, because we imagine this: you have small little hairs that blend up to big little hairs, and that lever is what is your tool. It's your tool to go from small little hairs to big little hairs. And when you push it down, you're giving it more possibilities of cutting. You're giving it the opportunity to cut hair that is longer and leave it longer, type of thing. And when you have it closed, you're really getting tight into this closer to the skin, really giving it a tight fade. But you always don't want to give someone a tight fade all the way throughout. There is a transition, and that's where you slowly start opening it. That's where you have to change guards. You have to go from 0 guard, actually from 0 guard or 1/16 guard to the 1 guard, slowly start opening it, type of deal, because you really don't want to just say, hey man, I gave you a nice haircut, you're done. No, we really want to give the client the time to really get the nice haircut that they're looking for, because everyone deserves a good haircut. Honestly, I think we all deserve a nice haircut, and if we don't get a good haircut, then I think we're not the happiest people, because we really wanted a good haircut to feel more confident, look better in our environments, and that's how it is. But now, going on the back right now, as you can see, we're gonna go on the back and we're gonna use the clipper over comb. And honestly, what I say is, if you use the clipper over comb, you gotta use it in a way that you just get rid of the bulk, mainly the bulk, the big longer hairs that just hang over, and you're just like, how in the world am I gonna blend that? That's what the clipper over comb is. You could use guards. We have guards that go from a 1 all the way to an 8, and possibly even bigger, but I've so far just seen till 8. And honestly, I don't use those big guards unless someone just says, hey, I like getting an 8 on top, then I'll use an 8. But on the regular, I usually use scissors, because it's an easier way to do the top, and it creates better transitions, better blends. And a lot of times when you just use machines, you actually break the end of the hair, hairs in a different way that can cause more frizziness in the hair. Not only that, but split ends. So it's not the best way, using a machine. It's best to use scissors. It gives it a more of a nice tuned cut, nice and straight cut. As you can see, now we're gonna go in the back here. You're gonna make a little arch around the ear, just to make sure that the client gets a nice arch around the ear and is looking good with that line around the ear. Because if we don't make that line around the ear, then what happens is it doesn't look as crisp. And we always have to start right there, because some people start way in the back, and when they start in the back, they start curving it towards the middle of the head, which kind of looks unnatural. And not only that, but when it grows back, it really does look very bad. So you don't want to do that. You always want to keep it as natural as possible, not too natural, a little bit into it, but not too into it, because you definitely don't want some LeBron lineups. You want to make sure your client looks good and is having a great experience with his haircut. And as you can see, we're gonna go in here and just tap. And when I tap there, I always go from the bottom up. Sometimes you just gotta like kind of like scooping, you know, kind of like sometimes it's kind of like barriendo. Sometimes like sweeping. Yeah, sweeping. You just go from the bottom up, you sweep into it, and while dragging the machine onto in the client's skin, not dragging all the way down where you're like tearing pieces out of the skin. More like a gentle sweep. You don't want to go all crazy, because then you could start creating those red marks on your client because he's got irritated skin because you jabbed the machine on him. You see how crisp that lineup's already looking, guys? That's because, you know, I'm being very careful. I'm using the tips of the machine like a pencil, you know, like people say out there. You know, use it like a pencil and go around the ear and just make sure that the client's got a nice crisp line around the ear, as you can see. And we did that for both sides, not only this side, so you guys can see. I just did one side of the tutorial because then the video would be even longer than it is now. But we definitely want to make sure that the line's nice. Now when we go, you know, to the front, we want to give him a nice crisp lineup. We want to make sure that the client looks good. You want to make sure that he feels happy and confident with what he's got. So that's what we do here. We make sure that the client has a nice haircut, and we work with it. We comb the hair down, and then in order to start that nice lineup in the front, we want to comb the hair down. We comb it down, and then we start in the middle, and we start moving from the middle to the right, and we just kind of create that lineup. You see what I mean? You just gotta put some work into it. You gotta make sure that, you know, it's not tilted, and if it does come out a little bit tilted, it's kind of, sometimes it can be a little hard to really make sure that the lineup is 100% straight, but you always do your best to make it straight. The best tip I can say is always start in the middle, you know, and once you do one side of the lineup, make sure to change your client, to turn your client around and then look at the lineup from the other side, because there's eventually, after doing it on one side so long, your vision can start getting a little bit deceptive, because you're seeing clients all day and you can no longer start figuring out how the lineup is. And as you can see right now, it's a little bit tilted, but that's, you know, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to make it a little straighter, just working on it. And as you can see, guys, but if I would have turned the client around, like I usually do, well, actually I think I do it in the video, then the lineup comes out even straighter, you know. We do our best to make the lineup as straight as possible, because that is our goal as barbers, to make our lineups crisp, make the lineups nice. And we also make sure that our clients' eyebrows are also really nice, because that's really important for our client, to make sure that their eyebrows, their haircut, everything is just right. You know, they feel comfortable with the way their eyebrows look. They get compliments all the time because their eyebrows look fleekier sometimes than women's eyebrows, so they're like, oh, you know, that's nice, that they have nice eyebrows. I want to make sure that they always have the best eyebrows out there, and that they're not out there looking like all scrubby and just, you know, in society getting criticized because their lineup or their eyebrows are all messed up. We want to make sure that every single time we give them the best lineups there is. And this is kind of, you know, this is a tutorial for barbers, so this is what we do. We gotta make sure we take our time, we dedicate, we focus our mentality on a nice haircut, and we don't think about anything other than giving people the best haircuts they've ever gotten. And as you can see, you always comb it down, just always doing your best to just keep that lineup straight, turn them around one side to the other, always just looking at different angles, always making sure the lineup's as clean as possible, because that is the way to go. As you can see, guys, you gotta just make sure it happens. And we go even on the eyebrows, just a natural cleanup is we just go over it with a one guard all the way open, just clean it up. Just go on the left side as well, just clean it up. As you can see, guys, nice and crisp. Okay, so now we're gonna do this side of the. You gotta stretch out the skin, this side of the lineup. Stretch out the skin and just hit it in an angle, just like that. And always this lineup. So I see some people like do the lineups, and sometimes they make it like slanted like that, or like slanted this way. And I think honestly that doesn't look very good. I think the best way to do it is do it on a parallel. Imagine that the lineup was here in the eyebrow, just parallel, perpendicular to the eyebrow. Actually, not parallel. This would be parallel, perpendicular to the eyebrow, and just kind of keep that the same way for the lineup. You guys see that? It's kind of like just to keep it keep it looking, you know, more natural, more good. So we're gonna do that. Now let's just do this eyebrow here. So the way we do it is, I always just start in the middle here. Just get rid of this little. You stretch the nose and the top like that, just to stretch out the skin and prevent cuts or little nicks. You guys see that? And then I'm gonna do this eyebrow, just the bottom. You guys see that? See the bottom of the eyebrow? Just like that. Just, you see that little arch, natural arch? I'm just kind of keeping at this eyebrow. You guys see that? Now I'm gonna do the same for this other eyebrow. Just pull out the skin up like that and then get rid of that right there. And then start making that little arch. So you guys see that? Just kind of keep that natural arch. Then we're gonna go on the top side. Actually, before we do that, let's do this other side and just go down here. Just go down like that and make that straight line there. And now we're gonna go on the top here. So now we're gonna do the top of the eyebrow, just stretch out the skin up a little bit like that and just go down like that. Make sure it's nice and sound. Get rid of the little hairs. And then this here, you can already see kind of where it's been before, so I'm just gonna go there. Clean it up, just basically. Nice and clean. We're gonna do this eyebrow as well. Keep it nice and clean. You see that, guys? The consistency. Eyebrow's looking fresh. Basically, and then these hairs are just kind of sticking out a little bit, but that's fine. Basically, all over, it's looking pretty fresh. Alright, so this is the cut. His eyebrows are looking fresh now. He's looking good. His lineup's looking good. And his haircut's looking good as well. He's looking fresh. And you got a little design, just a little quick one. You guys see that? Nice and clean cut, looking fresh. Not bad.